Now, some incredible tributes have been paid to the teacher Anne Maguire, who was stabbed to death at the Corpus Christi Catholic College in Leeds on Monday. Anne has been described as simply the best and an inspiration to so many, and also as a teacher who never gave up on her pupils. She apparently shouted, "Don't let them see me die," to ensure her children were not traumatised by the attack that she was undergoing. We voiced up some of the tributes which have been left outside the school. Perhaps they give us an insight into the impact that Anne Maguire made on her pupils.
I remember your first year at Corpus Christi, and you said you wanted to make a difference. You made such a difference to countless students, including me and my own children. God bless the Hurley family.
You were the best and most caring teacher and went the extra mile for everyone. May you rest in peace, Angel. Love from Joe.
R.I.P. Miss Maguire. You always believed in me and took the time and effort to make sure I achieved the best I could. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for you. Such a caring woman who only wanted the best for each and every pupil. Thank you so much for everything. Beautiful lady, inside and out. Gone but never forgotten, you will always have a place in my heart. Lucy Potter, class of 2009.
And the head teacher at Corpus Christi, Steve Mort, has also spoken of what made her such an inspiration.
Anne Maguire was a wonderful, caring individual. She was an outstanding teacher and she was an outstanding leader. She'd been a cornerstone of the school community for 40 years. She touched the hearts of 3 generations of pupils. Anne was first and foremost highly aspirational for all our students, regardless of the background or their ability. She never gave up on pupils, even at times when they may have given up on themselves. She was always the first to look at the strengths of pupils, to find the strengths of pupils, and to encourage them to develop the God-given skills.
And we thought that was a key phrase. She never gave up on pupils, even when they might have given up on themselves. Were you in that position at school, and did a teacher help you turn your life around? 0500 288 291. I'm joined now by Richard McCann, also from Leeds. Richard's mum, Wilma McCann, was murdered by the Yorkshire Ripper when he was just 5. And Richard says that with life in a difficult spot for him, at the age of 13, his English teacher transformed things. And he speaks to people now about what he's learnt in life. So welcome, it's good to see you.
Good afternoon.
And I just talk about your mum for a moment before we start about your teacher, to remind us that she was one of the first victims of the Ripper.
She was the first victim of Peter Sutcliffe, yes, and all those years ago, 39 years ago, yes.
Yeah, and you were very young. Do you remember her?
I remember her. I've got a few memories of my mum. It was a week before my 6th birthday. Quite a funny person, but living a chaotic life. Can't get away from that.
And you had siblings as well?
I did. We had 3 sisters. Sadly, we've lost Sonia in 2007.
Right. And the effect on your family of the murder of your mother, and also the unfolding story that the person who murdered her was one of the most notorious killers this country has ever seen.
Yeah, that was it was unfortunate losing Mum, but as you say, to Peter Sutcliffe, so we had this thing following us around everywhere and making me feel as though I was, this third-class citizen and less than everybody else. And to begin with, the impact of that was I was an angry young child and I was going off the rails. And
you were in a deprived area. And actually people have referred to the area of the school that Anne Maguire was at as deprived. So again, there may be connections there. So you were up against it a bit even without losing your mum.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very similar estate to the one the school that you're talking about is in. And yes, we were up against it. There were some good times at home as well. But I would probably, for most people, if you saw me, I was one of those kids that you would have thought wouldn't have amounted to much. And in fact, that's how I felt about myself. And
you were on the at-risk register by the social services, which I guess sums up the story in a way.
Before Mum died, yes.
Yeah. So tell us about the teacher.
Mr. Hill.
Mr. Hill.
Very softly spoken, gentle guy. I remember him with fond memories. He always had a bit of time for us, did Mr. Jeff Hill. I know that because he's contacted me in recent years. And what he did, he was able to see in me something I didn't quite see for myself, and that was that ability to get on stage and speak. I was a bit of a chatterbox. And he encouraged me. I wasn't going to do it to begin with, but just the way that he kind of spoke to me, I felt as though maybe I can do this. And it was a pivotal moment in my life. I was terrified, but I got on that stage. I actually spoke about...
Yeah, because it was a particular speaking event you had to do. He chose you for.
Well, everybody in the class had to give a little talk as part of the what was the O-level back, English O-level, just in front of the class. But he took me to one side and said, "Richard, I think you should enter the school public speaking competition." I thought, no chance. But then I thought about it a bit more, and I thought, well, I've been through some scary things in my life. I'll never forget that walk the morning Mum didn't come home, walking the streets looking for her. That was scary, and this didn't compare, so I entered the competition. But the fantastic thing about Mr. Hill was, he took me to one side, the day of the competition, he took me to one side in the corridor, and he asked me, he said, "Richard, how do pigeons," which is what I spoke about, "how do pigeons get home?" And I said, "I have no idea." He said, "Well, if you had to come up with an answer, what would you give?" I said, "It must be something to do with the magnetic forces. Maybe it's that." At the end of my talk, he stood up. We all had to be asked a question from a teacher. He stood up and said, "Richard, how do you think pigeons get home?" I said, "That's a great question." And he answered it eloquently. And you can imagine me, with my background, how I felt the next day when it was announced that I'd won the competition. I almost burst into tears. It was a moment I'll never forget, and it's no coincidence that, was it 31 years ago I won that competition, and I'm now one of the busiest motivational speakers in the United Kingdom. I speak 200 times a year.
Do you really? Wow.
200 times a year. I spoke yesterday, I'm speaking on Friday. I'm all over. I've just come back from Iran. So he planted a seed all those years ago, and like Lucy Potter said in your piece earlier, when she said that the teacher, Anne Maguire, she wouldn't be where she was if it wasn't for Anne Maguire. I don't think I would have been where I am today if it wasn't for that seed that he planted in 1983.
But it's almost as if Mr. Hill believed in the person that you are now, which is a person you couldn't see at the time.
Correct. I don't think he could have seen what was going to happen. But he must have seen.
Maybe he did see that. He saw the potential.
He saw the potential. He did, and he wasn't the only teacher that kind of saw the potential. There was other people, Miss Birkinshaw. There was good and bad, but I think even me as a young teenager, I didn't really appreciate the difference that teachers make or can make in the lives of young people. I think up until Mr. Hill did that, I almost saw a lot of teachers as the enemy. I had some skirmishes with some of them, and I think,
well, so many do, don't they? It's part of that anti-authority thing that you have as a youngster, I suppose. It's nothing.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of the young people that I speak to in schools, I then do a little workshop with those young people, the kind of young person that I was, and and I get that, and I see that, and I think we have to do all that we can to kind of change that, and give them role models and show them that they're there to help and support you and to unleash your potential, change your lives possibly.
Because when you were asked to do the speech, and he said, I don't know if you chose the subject of pigeons or he did, but you could have gone bullshit on him, couldn't you? You could have said, or messed it up deliberately or refused to do it, but something in you made you say yes, which is also good.
Yeah, it is. I chose pigeons because my father kept pigeons and I had to feed them, so I knew all about them. And so I just knew, and I know it now, I just knew that this could help me. I was lacking in confidence. I thought that if I can just get up there, I didn't have to win it, if I could just get up there, maybe that would help me. It was the same 10 years ago when I first got an invitation to speak at a corporate event. Petrified, in fact, I was on Radio 4 Women's Hour, somebody invited me to come and speak at a conference, and I never forgot what happened with Mr. Hill at the school in 1983, and I accepted this offer and I went on stage and I was absolutely appalling and I was petrified, but with a bit of help from in particular Professional Speaking Association, they've helped me over the years. I have just grown so much as a speaker. I now coach people in presentation skills and speak around the world. It's amazing.
So what were you doing? We're going off piste here, but
Sorry.
15 years ago, before you were doing your speaking, what were you doing then? You just having a normal job or what?
Not quite. Well, 17 years ago, I went off the rails again and got involved in the wrong crowd, taking drugs, and ended up in prison. Right. Came out of there in 1997 and I reached rock bottom, to be honest with you. Getting my house repossessed, and I was going to take my life. Formed a suicide pact with my sister, and the day we discussed it, she took the tablets and it brought me to my senses. We saved her that time anyway, and I got back on the straight and narrow, got myself a job, and every job I've ever done, I've tried to shine in it, and I got promoted and one thing led to another. But in 2003, my sister Sonia, she attacked her boyfriend. I won't go into detail, but she attacked her boyfriend in self-defence. It looked like she was going to go to prison. And I decided, and maybe this was influenced by Mr. Hill as well, I decided to write a book about my life. And that book, Just a Boy, it's gone around the world, formed 1,000 copies, and then that led to the speaking. So you can kind of join all these things together, and I'm actually pinching myself now that we're actually in the early development stages of the film about my life, Just a Boy.
How amazing, how amazing. And keep going back to Mr. Hill, that's the great thing. And I guess when you, not least because it's Leeds, you look at Anne Maguire, who's died, and she did 40 years in the same school, and that on its own tells you about the commitment. It
does, and to be honest with you, I'm still a little bit unsettled by what's taken place to Anne Maguire in that school. I live locally, and I know this is a stock phrase that we sometimes she's in my thoughts. No, she is in my thoughts, but what her family will be going through right now, and including the teachers, it's quite unsettling. But I'm so inspired by what the school have done, which is bring them, not close the school, bring them together to support one another, because I know myself that it's sitting down with people that are going through the same thing and supporting one another. That's what's going to help you through it, and so I'm inspired by the school.
Thank you very much indeed. Richard McCann, son of Wilma McCann, and now professional